Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their July 5th, 2017 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5A, Employee Introductions. And to provide the information regarding this agenda item is City Administrator Justin Miller.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's been our tradition recently to try to introduce to the Council new employees on a semi-regular basis, and we have two such employees here tonight. I'm going to ask them to come up to the podium so we can introduce them, and as they come up, I did want to recognize a couple others that started since the beginning of the year but couldn't be here tonight. Rachel Benasiak is our engineering department with our environmental resources technician program. Ian Bradshaw is our construction services graduate engineer. Iskander Umar is also in construction services and a senior construction representative. And Paul Winkles is in our communications department and our video production and technology specialist position. But at this time, I'd like Katie Bachmeyer and Brent Jones to come up just so that they can see them. They actually might be two of the more visible people that the council will see or the residents will. Brent is in our planning department and is active in code enforcement. So when people have questions about what is or what isn't allowed within the city in regards to everything from fun stuff like weeds and junk cars, but also to sheds and fences and things like that, you might be talking to Brent, and Brent actually made his inaugural presentations and reports to the Planning Commission last week as well, and some of those items are going to be coming to the City Council here next week or in the next couple weeks. And then Katie Bachmeyer is in our Community Development Department. She's our Economic Development Specialist and works with Community Development Director Dave Olson on those issues, and they'll be helping the City Council and the EDC on various issues. And we're glad to have them both here, and join me in welcoming them to the City of Lakeville.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5B, Public Works Quarterly Report. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is Public Works Director Chris Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As always, my pleasure to be here with you this evening presenting the second quarter report for 2017 for the Public Works Department. We'll get started right away talking about some of our projects. First off is our street reconstruction project for 2017. So far, work has proceeded quite rapidly through the project. Short of a couple weeks, we received some rain. There's a total of 6 phases in the project, and utility crews are already moving into the 4th phase of the project, and paving crews are on to the 3rd phase. So we're moving through the project quite nicely, and we're on schedule for substantial completion in early October. The next thing that folks around town might have seen was the work going on at the southeast corner of Dodd and Highview, and this is where we'll see 2 new wells being installed. That's wells 21 and 22. So the first crews that were out there was, we've bidded in 2 contracts, and the first contract was for prepping the site, all of the utility installation and everything else, putting in the driveways. So that contractor, Pember Companies, was out there doing that in recent weeks. And shortly you'll see some well drilling rigs mobilized from trout companies to drill the wells. The 2 wells that are going in, the first one, well 21, will be drilled in the Prairie du Chien Jordan aquifer, whereas you'll see most of our wells in the community are into that aquifer. And the second well, well 22, will be drilled into the Tunnel City Wanawak aquifer, which is quite a bit deeper, about 300 feet deeper. But it also provides us a emergency water source should there ever be an issue with the Jordan Prairie du Chien aquifer. Produces a little less water, so that's why it's not as desirable and a little deeper, but it provides us some diversification in our well field. So that's what we have going on. We would expect that the wells will be drilled in about 90 days, and then we'll finish the site work later this fall and possibly into the spring. Storm cleanup. As the council's aware, there was a few days actually in June that we received some decent winds, and it caused some damage, specifically kind of in the southern part of the city and southwest part of the city. Our streets division crews responded. Took a couple days of work to clean that up, but most of the trees were cut down. The body wood is salvaged and hauled off to Energy Resources for use in energy production. and the rest of the materials is chipped and hauled away as well. One thing I thought was interesting about this picture, you can see the very large tree in the center photograph, and there wasn't much left of that tree when it came down. You can see the whole inside is decayed and rotten, so it's very fortunate that it did not fall on a house and fell in an event like this. Move on to hydrant flushing. That's with our utilities division. We've been actively flushing. Every year we flush all of the city's 4,000 plus hydrants, both public and private hydrants. The primary purpose of flushing, of course, is to purge stagnant water from the system, but most importantly, it's to exercise all of the hydrants throughout this city to ensure that they operate properly for fire response. Any necessary maintenance issues to a hydrant that's a result of the flushing are typically completed, the repairs are completed within a day or two to make sure that that hydrant is returned to service and is working properly. Along with other work our utilities crews have been working on, we've also been focusing on lift station inspections. We have about 23 sanitary sewer lift stations in the community. These lift stations take sanitary sewage as it flows by gravity to a point that it can no longer flow. It lifts the sewage up so it can flow once again by gravity. This year, and also as part of our comp plan process, as part of our sanitary sewer comp plan, we're evaluating all of the lift stations for proper operating capacities, and also evaluating each one of the pumps so that we can get a true picture of what the capacity of our sanitary sewer system is. We also have to make sure that the influent and effluent rates of the stations are sized correctly as we see development continue in the community. Moving on to some of our facilities work, as many of the council members are aware, we have been working in the Art Center after a number of years of some significant water intrusion issues in the basement of the Lakeville Area Art Center. We've been working on waterproofing in that area, and the focus of the efforts were on the green room, the pottery room, and the mechanical room in the southwest corner of the building. All of these areas have seen significant damage over the years from water intrusion. So as you can see by the photos, the contractor trenched along the outer perimeter of the building and the foundation wall, installed drain tile and sump pumps in those areas. A membrane was placed over the walls to trap the water and ensure that any infiltration goes into that new drain tile. And then new walls were framed over the membrane to finish off the project, so you don't even know that it's there. And so far, with some of the significant rains we experienced earlier this spring, it's been working actually quite well. Moving on to property demolitions, the city has completed 2 more property demolitions this spring. One was the former Burger King site at Interstate 35 and County Road 50. The acquisition and demolition of this site is part of a larger future project as changes are made to the interchange at I-35. The other was on the former Warwig property near Antlers Park. Last year we removed and raised 1 single-family home on the property. This year we raised and demolished the remaining single-family home and a barn that was on the site. All of the demolition is complete. All that's left is some minor utility work and restoration of the sites, and we expect that to be in the coming weeks. Highlight one landscaping project that was completed, and this is at the 175th and Kenrick roundabout. In a coordinated effort, the city forester, along with our streets division and a local landscape contractor, refresh the landscaping at the roundabout at 175th and Kenrick. As the council's aware, this is a particular item that we've received quite a bit of feedback over the years from an aesthetic standpoint. So you can see the photo of the roundabout after it was actually mowed on the left side of the screen, and then what it looked like after the plantings. I'm very happy to say we were able to do it in a very economical way, that we combined it with city crews as well as a local contractor to see the finished product before you. So work was completed at the end of May, and streets crews will work through the summer to ensure that all the plants take root and water them and maintain them moving forward. Our city forester was also involved in a very successful tree sale as part of the Earth Day and Watershed Cleanup Day celebration. Of course, we had to get the photo of the dog in the back of the car. I had a chance to pet him. I was there actually when those folks came. But we sold a total of 221 trees and 108 shrubs as part of this tree sale, so we considered another very successful tree sale here in 2017. I'll also highlight, I believe, an event the mayor was at and our city forester as well, and this was a planting event, Learning with Trees at Lake Marion Elementary, sponsored by the Tree Trust and Lake Marion Elementary folks. Each child had a chance to participate in planting trees, learning about the species, proper ways to plant the trees and their survival, and the focus was on planting an outdoor learning classroom in this particular event. And the last one I'll finish up with here related to environmental resources and our forestry programs. Our Earth Day Watershed Cleanup Day, which seems like quite a while ago now, but was in April. Nearly 1,400 people officially volunteered to remove trash throughout Lakeville's parks, roadsides, waterways, and trails. Of course, this yearly event celebrates Earth Day and cleans up our watershed and all of the debris that collects over the year. I do want to thank Dick's Sanitation, Republic Services, and Waste Management, who all volunteered at least a truck and a driver to pick up bags throughout the city on April 22nd. We had, as you all know, sports teams, church groups, Girl Scout groups, Boy Scout groups, school groups, environmental groups, businesses, and of course many residents that participated in this event. In addition, we had over 850 volunteers that then attended the Earth Day celebration at our central maintenance facility. That's where a number of those photos are after. We provided a number of educational opportunities and other things along with free pizza, and some of the educational opportunities included water pollution prevention, recycling, waste reduction, importance of pollinators, emerald ash borer identification, lake water quality, invasive species prevention, and our photo right in the middle, navigating a multi-lane roundabout with remote control cars, which was a hit with the kids along with the beanbag toss game. This is definitely an annual celebration that highlights Lakeville's commitment to environmental stewardship. And the last couple of slides I'll end with are our water use year to date through the second quarter of 2017. So for the first 6 months, you can see it increases as we expect it would as we get into the summer months and we start to see irrigation increase. Despite showing an increase over the 10-year average, the blue line is our 10-year average, the red line is this year's average. We're still about 9% below last year through this point in time, so we're still doing all right, which is again indicative of some of the rain we had early in the year. Our peak day for the year was just shy of 17 million gallons, and that was on June 8th. And water distribution now for the year has exceeded 1 billion gallons, and we usually do about 2.5 billion gallons by the time we're at the end of the year. And our last water use slide, our water use dates per capita or per person tell a very similar story as the slide before. Following the 10-year average, you can see some fluctuations. May, again, a wetter month. You can see our water use per person was below the 10-year average, and now it was a little drier in June, so it kind of spiked up. But overall, we're on track and very close and trending to what we would see as the 10-year average and what we would expect. And that does conclude the second quarter report for the Public Works Department, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 8, public hearing to consider assessment of unpaid demolition charges. And to give the information regarding this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
Several of you council members were on the council last year when we went through the initial process to declare these hazardous buildings. And these are both properties that had been neglected for some period of time. The picture on the screen is the house that was located at 6649 167th Street. Doesn't quite look as bad from the street, but what you'll notice, and you could see a little bit from the outer picture, is that there was a gaping hole in the roof and the house had been vacant for years. Extensive water damage throughout the structure, mold, and through final numerous complaints. Building official Gene Abbott, along with the police department, fire department, gained access to the house and made this inspection and created the necessary findings to bring forward to a district court action last year to get the hazardous condition approved by the district court. The other house was a little bit more obvious from the street. This is the structure that was home located at 11311 178th Street. You could see it. It's from the interstate. It's just basically across from Super Target. It was visible. This is one of the last lots as you on the street as it kind of headed towards the interstate. This house obviously incurred significant fire damage and was basically abandoned. In both cases, these structures were abandoned. Numerous attempts to contact property owners, went unresponded to. We began the process to get the council's approval to go before the district court judge. The city attorney's office coordinated all the legal actions that we were needed, and we got the approved order to complete the demolition, and that was all done last summer. Chris Petrie and his department coordinated, and we went out for multiple bids, or open for seal bids on both of these demolitions. They were done concurrently by the same contractor. And I don't have a restored picture, but in both cases, if you drive by there today, they look like vacant lots. The foundations were removed; they were completely backfilled and seeded. The process we're at now is in the cost recovery process, and that also is a a process full with legal steps and procedures, and as well it should be. But on May 3rd of this year, we went before the district court again to get authorization to basically levy as an assessment the demo costs that we incurred on both of these properties, which were $31,110 on the 178th Street house and $44,300 on the 167th Street house. And so what was attached to the council's memo was the approved court order that was received from our city attorney's office on both of these properties, giving you the legal authority to levy these assessments. Once council, assuming the council takes action on this, again, the property owner will be notified of the proposed assessment, and they'll have 30 days from the date that was approved, which is today, July 5th, to come forward and pay the assessments for the demolition costs. We do not expect that to likely occur, and then what we will do is levy the assessment, and it will then only be payable before the December 31st of either year. Unlike street recon and some of our other programs, this is a one-year assessment. We're not spreading it out over 5 or 10 or 15 years. Basically, the full amount is due the first year. The resolution included in their packet, and it gives the city the authorization to do that. I should point out is that the statute specifies a different process for the collection of our out-of-pocket, or excuse me, our what the court called the special city's expenses outside of the actual demolition, and mainly that incurs legal. We had to go through a process where filed petitions with the court, legal notices were published in the newspaper, certified mail notices were attempted to be served, and so we have legal expenses on both of these properties that will don't have to be levied per se as an assessment, but still can be collected and added to the assessment for this property. Mr. Knetch can further clarify that from a legal standpoint, but it is treated a little bit differently, and we have a longer period before which we can seek payment of that. In this case, it can only be, there's a longer redemption period for which they have to pay on that portion, and it goes until October 1. So it would be our intent that if nothing is received or paid to the city by then, we will also not levy, but charge to the property the out-of-pocket expenses we had related to the legal process. With that, I will stand for any questions, or if they are more of a legal matter, I would defer to Mr. Knetch.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their July 5th, 2017 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.